My name is Richard, and I'm a patient of Dr. Bron, and I've been a patient of his since the spring of 2003, or nearly 5 years. How I came to Dr. Bron, though, is important for me to talk about, given that so many people with similar problems in their neck or their back have probably taken the same route that I took before I met up with Dr. Bron. So very briefly, I want to talk about this journey. I'm very impressed with Dr. Bron. I feel he's a great healer. But again, the path that took me to him was filled with, well, let us say, fraught with all kinds of obstacles before I finally made contact with him. I was first diagnosed with spinal stenosis about 6 years ago at an HMO, and the doctor had taken an x-ray, and he saw what he said were degenerated discs in my neck. He immediately referred me to an orthopedic surgeon who took one look at the x-rays and sent me through physical therapy. Physical therapy consisted of hot heating pads placed on my neck, and this was theoretically supposed to relieve the symptoms I was having. And I should emphasize symptoms here, because this was not a cure. This was basically a stopgap measure. The physical therapy took about 30 minutes. I then went back to my HMO doctor, and I was referred to UCLA for nerve testing. The nerve testing did not reveal anything significant, but I was then referred again for physical therapy, for more heating pads and for more massage around my shoulder and neck area, none of which really did very much in terms of a long-term healing. Rather, it treated the symptoms. I then was referred again for nerve testing, and again nothing was found. I saw a new doctor at the HMO who referred me for an MRI. The MRI more or less substantiated what the orthopedic surgeon had found originally, and my HMO doctor, that I did indeed have degenerated discs in my neck. I asked, though, for a new doctor, and the new doctor took x-rays and said, "You have severe arthritis in your neck, and I would prescribe prednisone, a steroid, for you." Refusing to take the prednisone because I was aware of the side effects, I asked for yet a new doctor. The new doctor examined me, looked at the x-rays, looked at the MRI, and he advised me to begin a regimen of anti-inflammatories, which I refused, and he put me on traction, which I accepted. Traction is a device that stretches out the neck, and in retrospect, I have a feeling it did more harm than good. And it was like this medieval device that was strapped around my neck, and this went on for several months, but still, again, only minor relief. I was then referred to a sports doctor in Marina del Rey, who I was told was an expert in the field of spinal stenosis, and that he treated people who were from the Lakers and all this sort of thing. He read my MRI and my x-rays, and he suggested that I have neck surgery, which I refused. I then went to a new doctor and was referred to a neurologist who suggested physical therapy. I then engaged in physical therapy for the third time. Little was accomplished there, so I went to a healer. The healer advised herbs. The healer also advised past life regression. The healer also advised all kinds of meditations for anxiety, which she felt would relieve symptoms. None of this came to pass. I then went to another healer and was referred to a gentleman who advised that I drink noni juice. I was then referred through him to yet another healer, but this time it was a chiropractor. It was only from there that I finally and ultimately met up with Dr. Brian Bron and have had continued success with him over the years. Before I tell you exactly what it is that Dr. Bron has done for me, let me review for you how many people I saw before finding Dr. Bron. I went to 5 chiropractors, 3 physical therapists, 4 acupuncturists, 2 neurologists, 2 orthopedic surgeons. I went for nerve testing, multiple x-rays, MRIs, 5 primary care physicians, and 2 healers. What distinguishes Dr. Bronk from all the rest of these people is simply a method whereby he examines your neck or your back or whatever it is, and he uses an instrument which he calls a percussor. It's a small machine that massages the muscles around the neck or the back, and the results are incredible. I'm not fully cured, but still I know I can come back to Dr. Bronk and have more massages and more muscle treatments. Dr. Bronk, for lack of a better word, is a visionary in his field. And I'm here really to tell the tale and just to advise anyone who is seeking alternatives to surgery, because I know, had I not met Dr. Bronk, I would have been on anti-inflammatories, and no doubt I would have had neck surgery. Aside from the spinal stenosis, what I developed was some kind of sciatic. I could hardly walk. I was very worried, and again, had I not gone for treatment with Dr. Bronk and been patient and did some of the exercises he told me to do, no doubt I would have had hip surgery, probably neck surgery, anti-inflammatories, steroids, all these things, none of which would have accomplished what I feel has been a miracle for me. Again, I do have relapses. I do have tingling in my hands on occasion, or in my shoulders, but I know sort of how to deal with it now, and I don't panic. One of the problems I find in this profession is that there's a white coat syndrome, meaning that you go into an orthopedist and he or she says, well, anti-inflammatories, physical therapy, surgery, they have a kind of mantra, and the mantra does consist of anti-inflammatories, physical therapy, and ultimately surgery. And it's very intimidating for people, particularly when they're in great amounts of pain, not to take that kind of advice. Again, my name is Richard. I've been a patient of Dr. Bronk's for 5 years, and I'm very honored to be a patient of his. I want to reiterate something that I touched upon before. I have two different issues that I've seen Dr. Bronk for over the past 5 years. One has been my neck, and that was a diagnosis of spinal stenosis. The symptoms of the spinal stenosis were, and still are on occasion, tingling in my hands, tingling in my neck, maybe a stiffness in my neck. The other condition was diagnosed as sciatica by a primary care physician. And I was advised then that I might want to take anti-inflammatories, which I refused, and again I went to Dr. Bronk and we had treatments. I'd like to emphasize, though, that for my neck I have not really had a treatment for about a year, and for the sciatic, maybe 6 months ago. I think what I'm really trying to say here is that initially when you see Dr. Bronk and he makes his evaluation, you may have to see him more often than not. But that gradually, as he works out whatever it is going on with you, you will be able to see him less and less. And you will be able to do what I do. You'll be able to go for what I call tune-ups, or just to rectify the original condition with another treatment. Again, I believe Dr. Bronk is a healer, and again, my own past history with all the different practitioners that I've seen, and again, let me emphasize that this was not limited to chiropractors, but to physical therapists, to orthopedic surgeons, to orthopedic doctors, to primary care physicians, to all kinds of healers, to acupuncturists, neurologists. So I have seen an entire array, let's say, of professionals over the years, but I have not met anyone like Dr. Bronk. And I think I sit here tonight and give this testimony in the hope that other people will hear me and that they will follow the same path that I have followed with Dr. Bronk. Thank you very much for listening.